This is a £700 multifunction oven. This is a classically trained chef. Should we see what he thinks of it?
Yeah, this is the Anova Precision oven, a countertop combi oven for the home that has all of the features of a pro combi oven at a fraction of the cost. It claims to be able to steam, convection bake, air fry, proof, bake, dehydrate, broil, sous vide, roast, toast, defrost, and reheat.
So first up, let's test the steam function.
So what Anova says is that in a conventional oven, there are usually fluctuations of up to about 15 degrees Celsius. With this, they reckon they've got that fluctuation down to 0.3 to 3 degrees Celsius.
How do you measure that?
Science, and I'm going to read this bit because it's a bit technical. It's because it features 3 separate heating elements and includes a wet bulb sensor to measure evaporative cooling and has an internal probe to measure the inner temperature of what's cooking. It also has the controlled steam injection function where it will control the level of steam to best cook what's in it.
I think that's how you measure it.
The thing is, that is doing the same job as big combi ovens that I've used in restaurants and hotels that have that precision technique. If it does it, and I'm sure it does, then basically you've got a desktop version of that. My question is, do you need it? I'm going to show you how I would and regularly cook these at home.
Ah, you've turned this into a competition. Come on, oven. Okay, so we've got some frozen pork dumplings. Ebbers, you're going to use the steamer basket method. I'm going to get this into the oven. So we need to set to the steam function. We turn this up to 100% steam, 100 degrees C. It doesn't work with thumbs. 100 degrees C. Let's see how long it takes to kind of preheat.
It's using this water to provide that steam. For me, I've just got literally an inch of water in the bottom of a pan and a steam basket that sits on top. And on that steam basket, just like you, I've got greaseproof paper or baking paper, and I've arranged my dumplings. I've had the same steam basket for a while. It cost me somewhere between 15, 20 quid, and it sits on top of pans you already have. So it's really easy and accessible. And I think that'll be the thing today. I reckon we're going to end up with quite similar results, but I'm going to hack it the way we always have and the way that normal home cooks could, and you're going to use the precision technology.
Yours has been cooking for 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I've only got a tiny inch of water, so literally as soon as that water comes up to steam, which it wasn't, but probably isn't far off. Well, it is, yeah, there we go. Because it's only a tiny bit of water, it'll come up really quickly.
You're at 86 degrees Celsius.
We are nearly there. Precision. We are at temperature. 8 minutes, same as yours. Let's see what the results are.
Do you want to try something else that steams? We've been told we have to make cloud eggs, which pains me.
Barry's not even here.
Are we separating these, right?
Yep. While we wait 8 minutes for those to steam, we can get our cloud eggs ready. We're just going to whip up egg whites and then finish it with the yolks. Obviously be careful with steam, it's very hot. That is me cooked and served.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, and there's, wow, there's the steam.
Mind your face.
Okay. These are the best, aren't they? Delicious.
There is nothing better than a homemade dumpling that you've put time and love and care into it.
Ain't nobody got time for
However,
that.
as a midweek cheat, these are great. These are absolutely great.
The Anova one's a bit crustier.
The edges are a little bit crispier.
They've dried out.
On here.
But we opened the door, there's lots of steam.
There's loads of steam.
Don't understand why, but noticeable difference. I mean, don't get me wrong, it came up to temperature pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
It is self-contained, it doesn't fill your kitchen or flat with that steam that this did. I actually quite like that smell of steaming bamboo, but you end up with similar, not quite the same results.
Let's see how your cloud eggs get on.
So next up, cloud eggs. This comes with a cloud egg recipe on the app and on the website. It uses a combination of the sous vide and steam function. So basically we're whisking up some egg whites, we're lining a ring cutter with cling film, preheated the oven to 70 degrees C and 100% steam, as according to the website, in sous vide mode.
I'm going to do it by whisking up egg whites, putting it into an oiled ring in a low temperature pan, and then bring it up to temperature with a dash of water and a lid so it half steams, half cooks gently from the underside.
Please break. Please break. Oh, it's so close.
If in doubt, use a finger.
Egg whites with a little bit hollowed out for the yolk. This recipe says cover this, then seal.
Ow, ow.
Thanks, Ebbers. Please come down.
So today, not really reviewing the ovens, more reacting to a few recipes that we're giving a go. What's natural about this process is by doing one after the other, the oven that was higher before hasn't yet had time to come down. So we are playing with those extra challenges we're throwing at it. How long for your version?
24 minutes.
Why have we done in 6?
24 minutes?
For a cloud egg.
That's far too long to think about what mistake you've made.
The reason it's in sous-vide function is because anything under 100 degrees C is that very specific temperature.
Yeah, 0.3 degrees.
So I guess this wants to be bang on 70 degrees C to be able to cook this for 24 minutes. To get fluffy whites and creamy yolk.
If you're enjoying this, there are some small things you can do that make a big difference to us. Like the video. Subscribe if you aren't. Click the notification bell and select all. Thanks.
Smells yolky. Ooh.
As per our hex-clad conversation, egg proteins are some of the stickiest.
Come on.
Don't try and cover it up.
It's going to zhuzh it. And how long did it take?
5 minutes, not
5
even that.
minutes.
And the reason being that, bearing in mind, my steam was all happening at 100 degrees in there, so it was going to bring it up to a set temperature quicker. Yours is in sous vide mode, so it will only come up to that temperature, but will do so a lot slower. So this will give you, in theory, the perfect result, but you just have to wait for it to get there. That means you don't ever risk any of it going above. Nice and jammy in the middle, but could have cooked that for a bit less. Do we have to? Cheers.
Cheers.
It needed a minute less to make it a runny yolk. It's got that slight colour on the bottom because it has been on a flat surface, but most of it is steamed egg white.
These are, yes, they are trendy, but they're trendy because they're made in restaurants by incredible chefs who have these combi ovens that cost like £3 grand, this is trying to get an attempt at close to one of those, but far cheaper for use in the home. So therefore you're going to make some sacrifices, aren't you? Why would you ever make a cloud egg at home in that traditional method anyway?
I don't know, over to you. I've got no idea.
Yeah.
There's 101 better ways to serve egg, in my opinion. But the fact is, people do want to make them. That enables you to do it with huge precision and half an hour. That gets you pretty damn close in 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay, here we go, the moment of truth.
It already looks like it feels better than mine. Holding its shape more.
Oh, it's slippery.
And because we never took it above that very specific temperature.
Look who's made an appearance.
Barry, mate, this is how you make a cloud egg.
Where's the yolk?
Wait, just wait.
Slightly eggy. Lovely. Now sriracha it.
You've spent nearly half an hour making a cloud egg.
Yes.
Well done.
Thanks.
Straight down the middle.
Your yolks there, yeah.
Oh, it's falling apart.
Yes!
Is that cooked?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
That is worlds apart from the version I did in its texture and in its appearance, and it held its shape rather than sank back, and the yolk is still runny but is cooked. You see, it's just jammy. If a cloud egg is what you want, that's the best way to do it.
That was the best cloud egg I've ever had. I mean, that's not saying a lot, but that is the best cloud egg I've ever had.
Great. This leads me on to the bit that I'm very excited about, and that is testing the sous vide function.
Okay, so sous vide literally means cooking under pressure, and it is a method under vacuum. Thank you, chef. So sous vide literally means under vacuum, and it is a way of typically cooking ingredients, mostly proteins, but not entirely, in a bag at very specific temperatures.
And that temperature stays the same throughout all of the cooking.
Long and slow, so you never go above it, much like you just did with the egg, but this time submerged in water. I'm going to do it in a bag, in a pan, kind of keeping it by eye. You've got one up.
Yes, the oven comes with a temperature probe that you plug on the inside, and we can insert this into the thickest part of our salmon. And then we plug it in, set it to 50 degrees, making sure that the oven outside doesn't come to above 65. And we are literally gonna set it going and see how long it takes for the internal temperature to come up to 50. Then we'll know it's cooked and perfect. We're also going to set the steam function to 50% humidity so that we make sure that the outside of the salmon still stays lovely and moist.
Whereas what I've done is fill a pan with roughly half boiling water and half regular cold water. What I'm aiming for is a pan of water that is at 50 degrees Celsius. I will know that because I put a temperature probe at the bottom, wedged between a fork just to keep it off the metal, and then about 20 minutes. We're looking at 0.1 of a degree as we count up here. It is precision cooking.
49.9, 50.
It hasn't dried out, but it won't be as moist as mine because mine's kept everything in. But then you've added humidity from yours.
This is very interesting. How does that look to you?
So you've got some of these proteins just beginning to leak out, which is a factor of the outside perhaps getting to 65, whilst the inside is getting to 50. But it has done it, I would say, 5 minutes quicker than perhaps
Oh yeah,
the one I'm looking at.
I did time it. We're looking at about 17.5 minutes.
So yeah, 2.5, maybe 5 minutes quicker than this approach, which I've been occasionally moving on and off the heat, and it's fluctuated maybe a degree either side. So you also can't overcook it. So by leaving it in there at that temperature, it will stay the same as yours could hold at that temperature in the oven.
Cheers. Oh,
Lovely.
that is stunning.
Very moist.
Just a little bit of smoked salt and lemon, but what it tastes of is salmon.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's try.
Now this will be a little more
Ebbers.
almost jelly-like. The proteins shouldn't be tacky on your teeth.
That is a very different texture.
It is.
It is less flaky and far softer.
What
Yeah.
you don't get is that slight stickiness of overcooked proteins, which the very outside of this has.
Do you think with a little bit of experimentation we could get closer to that, but with the sort of set it and forget it nature?
100%, it would just take a lot longer. But you're right, you walk away and leave it. Neither look hugely appetizing because they're not what we're used to seeing as a nice bit of fish
Salmon
that's got a crust. You can, of course, finish it in a pan or baste with butter at that point and finish it that way. Blowtorch to get a sear on it that keep the middle perfectly jelly-like.
Moist.
But 20 minutes, 2 good results. I think the result in the manual method in 20 minutes was better, but you've got to keep an eye on it. And you run the risk of it going wrong. And you need a vacuum machine, and you need the bags.
And I think as a normal, I would be far more concerned about doing it in your method because of my own ability.
Chef tingly senses to know that it's at the temperature, take it off and let it do its thing.
No chef tingle happening anywhere over this side of the kitchen.
Should we try some hotter stuff?
Traditional convection oven setting. We have some chicken thighs here, skin on, so they go nice and crispy. Ebbers, what are we looking for from flavour and texture?
Well, we've kept them so far completely plain. Open so the skin has dried a little bit. We're just going to season with salt. What we want is crispy skin, succulent chicken thigh meat cooked through to the bone without it drying out.
So this is really testing a normal oven versus the precision oven. This is the kind of thing you'd do at home.
Yeah, and I guess the difference here is that you can actually program the oven to use different parts of the oven at the same time. So for example, this has a top heating element, so you can program that as well as the traditional rear fan method. So hopefully you can get that crispy skin, but you can use then the precision elements to make sure that you don't overcook the middle. So I've preheated the oven to 200 degrees C. We're going to use the probe function as well to make sure that it doesn't overcook in the middle. That's going to be set to 73, and we're going for 75% steam. This is a recipe from the website. So hopefully there's no mic interference here.
I'm going to try and do the same. I've got an oven that's on convection and grill together. It's a setting on the oven that is set to 200 degrees Celsius. However, I can't control the humidity. So it should keep the steam that is naturally in there from the chicken in the oven. But what it's not doing is adding steam and water from a tank on the outside to control it precisely. So temperature I should have controlled, downward grilling temperature should be controlled, steam and humidity is guesswork.
And are you temperature probing yours?
Nope, I'm going to go by eye at the end based on approximate timing. It's like we do in Sidekick. It's an approximate time, but then you'll need to check it.
So we've done a few tests now, but it's probably time to start asking questions like, who's buying this? Like, who is this aimed at? Because this is expensive.
And it is also precise. And I think if you're a real foodie and you want to emulate that kind of restaurant quality stuff, and you're in a stage of your life where you have a big enough kitchen for it, I definitely haven't, then I can 100% see already, just by the tests we've done, how much fun you could have playing with it. And I think it's the thing, this is less for me about getting dinner on the table midweek and more about playing in the kitchen and experimenting with new dishes and pushing the boat out, perhaps for longer, slower weekend cooks where you can sous vide for an hour and let it do its thing.
Right. So the probe in the oven have told us that the internal temperature of the chicken has come up to 70 degrees. That only took 13 minutes. So it's either staggering that it came up and cooked properly at that temperature, or we're wondering whether you have to insert all of the probe into the meat. Otherwise, the exposed part of the probe will actually conduct all of the additional heat in the oven, and maybe that's throwing it off.
Well, you do a probe. The other way, as always we say, is cut into the thickest part and see what's happening. So if we cut down the side of the bone, have a look. No, it's still raw in the middle.
Yeah. The thermopen that the chefs use here, it's the tip that is the precise element, and therefore you don't ever run the risk of the shaft getting too hot and then throwing the whole temperature reading off.
Chef advice, just the tip. It's not far off, but you're looking at about 65, not the 75 that it was registering when we took it out of the oven. In all honesty, the residual would probably continue it, but the probe wasn't quite as accurate as we'd hoped. Whereas mine, definitely a more regular oven, albeit a new one that keeps all that moisture in, and it took 17 minutes. I'm happy with that. Crispy skin, it's blistered in places, which is lovely. Not bad at all for 17 minutes of cooking. When I opened the oven, a whole lot of steam came out. So it is doing a good job of trapping the steam in there. It's not controlling the amount of steam in there.
Still crispy, bit of blistering. I think you've got a nicer or more of a golden colour on your skin.
More colour.
Sure.
I'm not sure it's necessarily any crispier, but I have got a bit more colour. Again, beautifully juicy inside, steaming, just cooked throughout, but the way it should be. I would say slightly less crispy skin, but there's not much in it. I'm pretty sure though, no marinade, no added flavour, it's just going to taste of excellent chicken.
Oh yeah.
So these differences that we're picking up on, would you say on the whole so far, they've been really quite subtle?
When I read about this oven, and I read through the website and I saw the product, as a normal home cook, I was like, that's amazing. That's just what I need, that little safety net, that precision, like I'm gonna cook amazing food. But having done this experiment next to Ebba's, who's using perhaps quicker, more, conventional methods that a normal home cook would have available and getting as good, if not sometimes better results, that's been the really interesting thing. Now, I reckon you could get incredible results out of this once you played around with it and you understand how to adjust the settings. But straight out the box, it's not that safety net for me that instantly turns you into an amazing cook. And there's nothing out there that could do that. That's foolish to think that. When you've got some knowledge, some practice, you can achieve incredible results just with basic ingredients, really. One more thing to test, baking. Let's do some burger buns.
Can I just point out, we've done a series of tests so far, and I don't think you've used one of the best features of this oven.
Which is?
Alexa, set my oven to 200 degrees Celsius. We've not connected it. But if we'd connect,
Yeah. The other thing we haven't done and aren't going to do is test the cleaning function. It will also kind of steam clean itself. It has an auto clean function.
Let's see how it bakes some burger buns. So here we have some sesame seed laden proved buns.
Oh, they look very familiar.
Yeah, you made these in a battle, didn't you?
Yeah, won me my bread badge.
So this actually, because of the nature of the precision temperature control, you can prove in it. If you bring the steam down to 0%, you can bring this down to 30 degrees or so to be able to prove, which is great. You can't really do that in a traditional oven. But these are already pre-proved, so we're just going to use the traditional conventional oven. 200 degrees, 12 minutes, with 100% steam, so we keep all that humidity.
Most domestic ovens can't go down low enough to prove, but if you put it on its lowest setting with the door ajar wedged open with the tea towel, that's usually a pretty safe bet. And then when you're ready to bake, crank it up to the same 200 degrees Celsius. I haven't got a steam function, but the way we've always done it is have a hot tray in the bottom of the oven, which is also preheating. And as I put the bread in, I'm just going to throw some cold water onto the tray. That will create the steam, shut the door and lock it in. Same 12 minutes.
I'm taking these out because they appear done with 2 minutes left on the clock.
I think they are beautifully even in their colouring because the steam has allowed it all to happen in equal measure. In a regular oven,
pretty good though.
Also
That's
pretty
much the
good.
same.
Perhaps haven't risen as much because you've got a drier heat, so it sets a bit earlier and doesn't allow it. Because that's what steam should do. It should give you an even colour, but also it allows them to expand before setting in place with a fierce 200 degree heat.
These are phenomenal, aren't they, Evers?
Well done, Jamie. Great recipe.
Thank you. Don't get a bread badge for nothing, boys.
We'll give those a few minutes to cool down and then we'll cut into them and see the cross section.
Hello.
Now, as they've cooled down, yours are definitely a little bit softer, but they're both bouncing back beautifully. What you should get is a very, very beautiful burger bun. Standard method.
Pretty similar.
By sight alone, you wouldn't know. By feeling it and giving it a poke, you can tell the difference. I've been pretty impressed with it.
You have?
I have. I mean, I don't think it's a huge step away from what we've been able to achieve without it.
100%.
But I am now imagining the 101 things I want to try in that, and I want it in my life, but before I can have it in my life, I need a much bigger kitchen to have space.
I think what I've learned is that this is dream kitchen kit.
Yep.
You need a big enough kitchen and enough money to have one, and I would use it for project cooks, weekend cooks, things that you can get really stuck into and you want that precision. For your everyday cooking, you want speed, convenience, and you want to utilise what you already have in your kitchen, and you've proved that you can do that.
Yeah, I would say that replaces that, and that,
Yep.
but with a bit more precision.
I love it. I love it, and I would like to, well, we're fortunate enough to be able to test it because of you guys, on behalf of you guys. So we're going to use this a ton in the studio, and I'm really excited for it because I think it's fantastic.
Look at that for a burger bun.
Well, you know what we think? That's 5 dishes tested, some a little bit better than Ebba's method, some not quite as good. But we want to know what you think, so comment down below, let us know. What do you think of the Anova Precision oven? Would you have one in your house? That's the end of a question, but the intonation didn't sound like it, but it is.
Over and out.